welcome to Craft Beer Ohio, BuckeyeBrew.com. I'm TJ.
Pat.
It's funny. This weekend we're both traveling to Kentucky. He has a girlfriend down there. We went down there for Thunder over Louisville, so we figured it was fitting to kind of go outside of Buckeye Brew, meaning Ohio, and bring back some tasty brews to try.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've been going back and forth to Lexington, Kentucky for the past 6 weeks, and during those 6 trips, I've spent a lot of time drinking a lot of bourbon and drinking a lot of beer, all made in Kentucky. And let me tell you this much: it's not all about bourbon and bluegrass anymore. There's some great craft brew coming out of the Bluegrass state.
And I actually told Pat, I was texting Pat on the way home, and I was like, I think I found the best IPA that I've had. And he's like, there's no way, don't even say it, don't even say it. And he knew exactly what I was talking about, because he's had one of the beers that we're going to try today. It's from West Sixth, also in Lexington.
It's right in Lexington. So is the Kentucky Ale.
Kentucky Ale, and then we also have an amber ale from West Sixth as well. Phenomenal. But you're a Two-Hearted?
Yeah.
He's a Two-Hearted guy. And we'll review that here coming up. We might have a little throwdown on the website. As you can see, we're just kind of going with it. We're just out here up by the woodpile. Got the dogs out here playing some banjo and reviewing some beer. So let's get started.
What do you feel like pouring first?
Let's start with the bourbon barrel.
Bourbon barrel?
Yep, I'll let you pour it.
Little info about the bourbon barrel. Brewed by Alltech in Lexington. They also distill, I believe. That's kind of getting to be a little bit of a bigger thing now. You'll see a lot of breweries take a little bit of their product. I poured a little more than I should have. They take a little bit of their product and distill it rather than brew it, and it kind of turns out to make a pretty fine whiskey. This is clearer than I thought it would be for some reason. I thought it would be a little darker. I've actually never had this before.
Yeah, I tried it for the first time a while ago. Bugs, that's all part of the fun.
Yeah.
Tried it a while ago at my local craft beer bar. Said you got to try this. So I did, and I'm hooked. Smelling, I mean, first of all, we got a pretty nice head on there.
Yeah.
Good bubbles. Not a lot of sediment in there.
I can't believe how clear it is. I thought it would be
I was expecting
funky because it's barrel aged.
Right, and it should be a filtered beer. Doesn't say, it just says oak aged in bourbon barrels.
You can smell the oak.
You can
right off the rip. Cheers.
Cheers.
Kind of excited about this. Okay.
I'm hitting with a caramel.
Very caramel, vanilla, which makes sense because you get that in a lot of the bourbon that's made in Kentucky, and that comes from the tannins in the oak.
And I'm feeling maybe some like a coffee taste. I don't know if that's the malts showing through, the darker malts maybe coming through. I'm a coffee drinker, and in my head I always kind of attribute stouts to being coffee-like. So I don't know if that's my palate's been trained that way. Or
no, I kind of pick up on it. It's not like a black. It's like a Starbucks coffee kind of thing. Like a flavored coffee kind of thing, because it has a lot of the vanilla and the caramel and a little bit of the coffee.
A little caramel latte, maybe caramel vanilla latte beer.
Right. I don't think that's what they were going for, but hey.
Higher alcohol, if I remember correctly.
Most of the bourbon barrel ales tend to be
8.19.
That's not that high.
Again, like we talked about in the last one, it's definitely not a session, so you want to drink this slow or have a driver. But it's a drinkable stout.
It is.
I mean, when I got this, we were at a hotel, and they had it in their gift shop at the hotel. Now, mind you, this is an airport hotel, okay? We're not like balling out of control at some Ritz. This was they knew how important this beer was and how important it was for people to try it, so I did. I paid $5 a bottle for it, which is kind of high, but
I mean, that has kind of taken over the state. I mean, that when you think of Kentucky beer, that's what I'm thinking.
And honestly, before I went, without any research, I would have thought this was the only one, because it's the only one
the only one that I really knew that
I had.
Yeah.
And I haven't tried their ale. They have a Kentucky ale.
Yeah.
And then they have a bourbon barrel stout. This is just their bourbon barrel ale. So they do have a stout. That might be why this is a lot clearer. I'm assuming their stout's much darker.
This is
maybe
a lot
darker roast malts.
It's a little more carbonated than I usually prefer.
We're still seeing the bubbles come through.
We're still, and every time you take a drink, it mixes and you get more bubbles.
Overall, if I saw this in a case, I'd buy it. It's a buy. It's definitely not a fly.
Yeah, it's a good one, you know, for your buddies. Honestly, this is pretty mild if you're just wanting to.
It is.
You know, here, try this, maybe to get them to stop drinking, you know, your big corporation. But it's not really offensive. It's kind of mellow, pretty mild, real smooth. Thumbs up for me. It's not really. It's not real bitter at all.
Okay, let's break it down. Smell.
Oh, oaky.
Very oaky.
Yeah.
You can almost smell the sweetness.
Yeah. It is very sweet.
It's not. I would say it's not a sweet like a shandy.
No,
or like a citrus sweet.
That's like sticky sweet.
Right. This is a mouthful of sweet. Caramel, maybe a toffee.
Yeah.
Maybe more like a toffee.
A good word for it.
I would say 1 to 5 on smell. I'm thinking a 4. I could smell.
It is very, very pleasing to
very smellable.
Because I love the smell of bourbon, and I can kind of smell the bourbon. I can kind of smell the beer. It works.
And I've found when I've introduced this to people, oh, you like whiskey? Oh, try this. Mm. And if they don't like beer, then they're not automatically going to like this. Just like if they like beer, they're not going to like bourbon, you know? Mm-hmm. So to pass this off to somebody, you have to, I don't want to say it's an acquired taste, but someone with a complex palate would really enjoy this, yeah. I think.
There's a lot going on. That's for sure.
Head, porter medium head.
And you know, every time you take a drink, it kind of builds back up.
Right, so it is staying with the beer. That's just showing you that the beer is breathing. I mean, it's coming through. You're seeing those flavors come out. On the head, I would say about a 3. 2 to 3. 2 to 3.
Yeah, I would give it a 3. I'd give it a solid 3, I think.
Let's go with bitterness. Not bitter at all.
No, not at all.
I don't see an IBU rating on this, but I would say damn near nil.
Yeah.
Probably just for used hops for bittering.
Yeah.
Not really for flavor, I wouldn't think. 1, I would say, just because it's not bitter. It's not a bitter beer.
It's not at all.
And finally on taste.
I'm going to give it a 3.5 or a 4.
I'm going to go with a 4. I definitely, I mean, buy a 6er, buy 12. Yeah. I mean, I'd probably get a keg of this if I had a multi-tap system at my house. Yeah. I'd keep a keg of this on just when if I'm in the mood for like an ale, but a stout, this fits that bill.
Yeah.
Like you said, the clarity is there, and it's a drinkable beer.
Yeah.
It's definitely a drinkable beer. So, hats off to Kentucky.
And there's proof it's
solid.
drinkable. A quick rinse here.
Nice mason jar.
Yeah, it's about 90 years old. Found it.
I'm gonna finish this one. You might maybe you want to hit up the brown
ale.
Yep. Well, I'm gonna finish this up.
You know, I want to take a minute to talk about West Sixth. They are an infant brewery. They've been open for a year and a few months. The IPA was their first beer that they canned and produced. They have probably 7 or 8 taps at their brew house. But they don't do any food at the brew house. It's just beer. They have food trucks come in the parking lot. They do pretzels and stuff like that. It just seems to me like a fantastic company. And they're not very well known.
That's what I didn't know. I walked into a liquor store and they had this, and I was like, I couldn't take bottles at the event that I was at, and I was like, canned, let's do this.
Yeah, and you know, it's when I think of a good craft brewery, they're passionate about what they make. They're not that interested in high volume. They're interested in high quality. I mean, this stuff really is in Lexington, Louisville, and Cincinnati.
Well, just recently, while I was down there, I was doing the review for the site. You know, reading more about it. I like to read about the breweries. I don't like to just come out and say, this is a shitty beer, and walk away. I want to research the brewery because I feel that that's important to the beer they make. The things that they, pride themselves in. For example, West Sixth is all about, they care about the earth, and they care about, they're in cans because A, it's better for the beer.
Actually, let's read what it says right on the can. Why a can? Better for the beer, better for our planet, better on the go. And
it is, and I mean, this is a lot easier to throw a 6er of these in than trying to juggle bottles. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
And you can
smash that. Smash on your head.
Yeah.
No. So, smell?
Smell. It doesn't do a whole lot for me. It just kind of smells like a brown ale.
Yeah, it's
a little malty. Doesn't really ring any bell. It's a little malty, a little sweet maybe.
Let's see if they have any alcohol, ABV or anything. It feels like a lower ABV.
It is.
There's no alcohol taste coming through at all.
But you know, most of your standard brown pub ales are, you know, they're for drinking. They're for sitting at the bar and drinking several.
Right, and it's good.
Yeah. If you like, you know, Newcastle or Boddington's or any of your English pub ales, you'd probably like this.
This would fit in.
Yeah.
Mild head. I mean, minimal. To me, minimal.
Bubbly and not real thick.
Right. So we're not seeing as much carbonation as even the bourbon barrel,
which is
what
you'd expect
for a brown ale. Right.
Okay, we're back. Had a little camera malfunction. No big deal. We'll work through it. That's our style.
That is how we roll.
Scripted. The look.
I mean,
it's beer.
It's beer. This is a great show to watch. It's beer.
It's
so
beer.
We got beer, and it looks like beer. Oh my god, I like beer.
America. It's not really clear,
it's
also not super cloudy like a wheat would be. It's nice to look at. I'm sure in a nice clear you know, pub glass, it would probably look right.
I'll apologize. These glasses actually have like a tapered color to them. If you look, they go to like black on the
bottom. Where'd you get them?
These are Shock Top, End of the World Midnight Wheats. They came from a bar in Kentucky.
Yeah, I tasted the theft.
Is that what you tasted there?
Yeah, you notice it.
5 on the theft. 5 on the theft. I tipped really well. Yeah. I just want to say, I tipped the guy $25.
Well, you got your money's worth.
Exactly.
At least they could do
it. So look, I'm saying a 3. It's beer.
2.5.
3. Yeah. Taste.
I'd go with a 3 on it. I mean, it's a brown ale. Brown ales aren't over the top. There's not one thing in a brown ale that jumps out at you. It's kind of a nice, smooth, mellow blend.
And I would say, for a brown, I would maybe rate this a little higher.
I would too, because
there's some complexity
probably
there.
rather drink this than a Newcastle. And I really like Newcastle.
I'm the exact same way. So I would say a 3 in the brown ale.
Yeah, I'd give it a 3.5 just because it's local and it makes me feel good.
Yeah, local to her.
Yeah.
To the pink dot, that's right.
Yeah, pink dot. Inside joke.
Overall, I'd say it's a 3 beer. 3? 3.5? 3?
Mm-hmm.
But solid. I mean,
another good one for your buddies that drink Bud Light. Hey, try this. Let me know what you think. I actually did that today earlier with a neighbor. I said, hey, why don't you try one of these? Oh, it's pretty good. Well, imagine that.
Life's too short for crappy beer.
I'd buy it again. If I ever make it back down to Lexington, I'll pick some up. All right, the next one I'm pretty excited about. Because ever since he mentioned it being his new favorite, it's kind of, I mean, when I had it the first time a couple weeks ago, damn, that's pretty good. I mean, it's no Two-Hearted, but it is pretty damn good.
And even in the can, I mean, the can.
I like the can. The can looks good.
Right, and they have like green, the top of the Sixer is actually all green.
Right.
And you could actually put your beer back in it. So if you're somewhere.
You don't want to leave your empties.
And you don't want to leave your empties, just.
You shouldn't. You know, littering's not cool. Nobody wants to see the crying Indian.
Nobody likes crying Indian.
Wow. It pours beautifully. Even out of a can. You know, that's the thing that kills me. I like drinking out of cans. And you'll know, I mean, there's a lot of craft being put in cans now, and I'm really happy about it. The head looks great for me.
Not very clear. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying it's a stout or a lot of sediment. There's no sediment at all.
No.
And I mean, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's also a filtered beer.
I would think so.
But overall, I've had this beer before, so this isn't a full disclosure. Not my first taste, but my first review. Hops.
The smell is great.
And like I said in the previous episode, I mean, I pop hops like Tic Tacs.
Yeah.
I love them.
This smells like sticky, resiny It's
awesomeness.
Wonderful. I mean, I don't really notice the citrus. I mean, a lot of your IPAs have kind of a citrusy nose.
With the hop leaves, yep.
This is just hoppy. I mean, it smells like fresh cut hop leaves. Boom, in the glass.
And again, they're not on the can. They don't have as much room to advertise. I don't see their actual IBU. We'll have that in the full review.
It's 8% ABV.
8%, okay.
I remember reading that.
But in our full review below, you'll see it right down there. You'll see our full where we actually break down the ABV and the IBUs of the beer. Oh my God, I could smell that beer all day. Feel like right there. That's where I feel it.
Right in the cheeks. It is super resonant, which I love.
It's a great hoppy aftertaste,
like
too.
Turpentine. I mean, you drink it and it's like turpentine, resin, pine. I don't really notice the citrus. I think that's why I like Two Hearted just a little more, because it's a little citrusy. But
I'm actually I'm concentrating on that aftertaste, because there is complexity there. You have bitterness, and my mouth is just trying to figure out.
It finishes really dry.
It does. Oh yeah, it's gone.
And there's hot bitterness, but to me if you've ever eaten dandelions, it kind of leaves you with that just really.
This guy never ate dandelions.
The leaves, they're very bitter. I'm kind of getting that a little bit, like fresh cut plants.
And I mean, when you have a fresh IPA, I mean, that's when you know you've had, I mean, that's it.
And this has to be fresh because they had to go in the back at Liquor Barn, the biggest liquor barn in Lexington, to get it. I don't know what the born on date is.
I was going to say, this doesn't have a born on date.
It has to be fresh because they had to go in the back to find it.
It says, I can't read I don't want to kill their date label. It looks like they have a date label. But
it was born on February 2nd. Real fresh. Not bad.
That's 2012 though.
Oh, is it really?
2/12/02.
Can't be because they just opened their doors in February.
Right. Yeah.
Which, big shout out to West Sixth. Really, really proud of what you guys are doing. You're doing a lot for craft beer.
I would drive to Cincinnati for that beer to bring it home.
Might as well drive to Lexington and go to the brewery.
And
go to the food truck.
Right. Check out the food trucks, right? I mean, I would drive there to get this. I mean, it is an awesome IPA.
And never expect it to be made in Lexington, Kentucky.
I want to shout out. I mean, they have a QR code on the side. Being a technology director, that's kind of cool. I mean, to be able to scan the can and get more information about their brewery. I mean, hey, cheers for a year.
Fine job, guys.
They just had their first year anniversary of their birthday.
Really awesome what you're doing.
I love it. It's a beautiful brew.
I really hope this takes off. I mean, I hope for them. I hope for me.
For me, more than anything.
I really hope this takes off.
Get some distributors up in the Northern Ohio area.
And all their advertising is word of mouth.
Right,
no commercials, no nothing, word of mouth.
Yep.
Fantastic stuff. This is really good.
Let's break it down. Let's go. We'll start with head.
I'll give it a very solid 4 on the head for me.
4. Yep. Mine's obviously not the same as yours, but also 4. Different when you pour in the can. I mean, to be honest, when I drank this, it was a Thunder over Louisville, and I was seriously dumping it into a plastic glass.
You're probably...
Yeah, to get it back in, past the cops. And it'll sneak up on you, too. I mean, when I was taking pictures, also a photographer, I mean, so...
He's also an astronaut.
Yeah, we'll throw that out there.
And a fireman.
At Thunder over Louisville, there's 2 bridges, and there's barges in the middle. So fireworks go here, here, and here, like back and forth, back and forth. I was like leaning on my tripod, just going like this, because I had 4, and I was done.
Oh, is that how you got the beer on the back of the camera?
There's beer on the back of the camera because of that, actually. Tripped on my way back.
Stop smelling this beer.
I mean, I love drinking it, don't get me wrong, but...
let me just...
Oh, nice aftershave. Good call. We should market that. Oh, I would love smelling hops all day. A lot of people would probably be turned off by that. I want to get a hop flavored beard wash, so I could just.
If I had a beard, I'd wash with it.
Okay, let's not get sidetracked.
Right.
Clarity. It's an IPA. It's 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Smell, again, 5.
It looks really good in the glass to me.
It does. Smell, 5.
It's 10. It smells.
12.5.
So
12.5 on a scale of 5. Overall taste, I'm going with a 5 here. Best IPA I've had, hands down. I mean, at first when I told him that, I was like, you know, I was drinking a lot of that shit when I was down there. Like, my palate. I mean, you don't taste beer, you don't rate beer when you're smashed.
Because it's awesome.
It's awesome. Bud Light's great. No, it's never. Bud Light's never great. So I was like, you know what? When I get back, I brought 1 can home. I was like, I need to honestly rate this beer. Clean palate after work.
Before work.
Before work, on my way in, it's still a 5 through and through. The ABV, like you said, around 8%.
So drinkable.
Drinkable.
2.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. 3.
3.
4 with a driver.
Yeah.
5 with one of those Google cars.
Yeah.
Drive themselves.
Yeah. I'm gonna give this one a 4.5 on the taste because I've had maybe a better IPA, but not an IPA that I would buy a case of. Because some of them are just so great and they do so much for you, but they're a little too much to drink all the time. This, I would pack my refrigerator full of. Just like Two Hearted.
Yep, I would get one of these after work.
I could drink this if it was 100 degrees. And that's the thing with IPAs, they're fresh, they're clean.
So fresh and so clean.
Yeah, there's just, I love them.
I like it. I like it a lot. So I'm going to go with a 5 on this one. I don't give 5s ever. This is a 5 for me. This is a 5.
Solid, very solid 4.5.
So, good deal. I say we're actually going to go do some cooking, and we'll be back with some bourbons that we're going to try here. Bourbon, right?
Bourbon.
Some Kentucky, awesome Kentucky Gold. So, we'll be back at you.
Alright, so it wouldn't be much of a Kentucky show without,
trying a few, some whiskeys, some bourbons.
Some bourbon.
Gotta have the bourbon. By the way, just had an awesome steak. Amazing French fries made by this guy right here. Solid cook.
So what do you want to do first? You want to do the local Lexington or the Big Brew?
Let's try the Big Brew first.
What we have here is the Knob Creek 9-year-old single barrel reserve. I think this runs about $45 a bottle, which really isn't too bad for what you're getting because, I mean, there's a reason I bought it. I think for under $50, this is probably about as good as you can get, in my opinion. It is a little hotter than most of your bourbons. This is 60%.
You can smell it.
So 120 proof. That's why I like the ice. I think it kind of loosens things up a little bit. Claremont, Kentucky. I'm sure if you're a big bourbon drinker, you know that. But
like you said, the hotness of it. I mean, you could smell that.
it's hot.
It burns some nose hairs a little bit.
Vanilla, oak. Which I'm not a pro bourbon drinker.
So you can almost, you try to smell it like beer, and your nose hairs get burned a little bit. So it's kind of hard to get a smell. I mean, we're out by a fire, so it's even harder, but like vanilla, I can see that.
You know, for being 120 proof, it's very smooth. Very drinkable. I'll take this over your standard Jack Daniels any day. This is pretty, I mean...
And like you said, you know, when when Pat said it was warm or hot, you know, you think of like fire, like it's burning, you know, burning your, like I said, burning my nose hairs. Well, in reality, when it gets into my mouth, I feel warm.
It is, and it goes right to the fingertips.
Right, instantly. And it's not like it's not a spicy hot. It's a temperature warm feeling. It's good. It's a solid drink. I don't want to rate this.
No, I don't know
like bourbon.
I know enough.
Right, I don't know enough about bourbon. I know I like to drink it, but I don't know that I can break down the complexity of a whiskey.
Not like I can with a good beer.
Right, exactly. You know, with beer, I could taste the differences. You know, it hits my palate. This just kind of a sit back.
I like wine too, but I don't know enough about it.
About wine, exactly. So really, we're throwing these in here just to kind of add to our show. But Knob Creek, solid drink. Like you said, 120 proof. This is a far cry from our 6% and our 8% beers. Right. But we're also, I mean, we're also only swigging. You know, we're not drinking a whole beer, 12 ounce or. But overall, if I saw this in the store, I'd pick it up. You know.
And that's the thing about the Knob Creek. It's everywhere.
It is.
I mean, it's kind of the craft brew of bourbon. I'd put this at, you know, the Sam Adams.
This is something that InBev would buy soon.
Yeah.
You know, if they were in the bourbon
I actually
business.
think Beam owns them.
Oh, Beam. Okay. So you're seeing the similar things happen where they're getting absorbed.
But quality nonetheless. Like I said, under $50, I think you're hard pressed to do better now.
Right, and I mean you'll see stuff that's like, you know, Old Crow or, you know, early times whiskey, and you're like, well, this is $12 for, you know, this big bottle. I'm gonna buy it.
Same as buying a Bud Light. I mean,
exactly.
You're getting what you pay for.
You get what you paid for.
And sometimes you get lucky and find something that's not all that expensive, but pretty damn good.
And I found that that's close to the distilleries.
Yeah.
I mean, going down to Kentucky where they make it, like you can pick up a decent bourbon, decent whiskey for. You know,
I mean, I think $45 for that.
It is, and you know, I'll spend, like I was up in Michigan, and I spent $30 on the beer barrel bourbon. I think it's, don't quote me, I think it's New Holland makes it.
It is New Holland.
It is New Holland.
Yeah.
They make a beer barrel bourbon, and I was like, I think it was $30. All right. My buddy's like, you're paying $30 for a bottle. You can get this, that. I was like, I want it for the complexity. I want to drink it. I don't want to mix this with Pepsi or, you know.
And that's what you're getting with the Jack Daniels, you know, the cheap stuff. It mixes well.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I drink whiskey and Mountain Dew, whiskey dews. I drink those, you know, if I'm just trying, you know, if I'm chilling or I'm at a party, hanging out with my dad, you know, we'll drink whiskey dews, but we're not going to put this with whiskey. Or, I'm sorry, this with Mountain Dew. That's a waste of a good bourbon.
So let's move on to the local distillery. I believe it's in Franklin County, Kentucky, so somewhere close to Lexington, not far away. We're looking at 45%, so 90 proof, which is considerably less than what we just had. Yeah. Pretty cheap. I think this was like $23 or $24 for the bottle.
And again, it's Buffalo Trace is what the name of it is.
Yeah, Buffalo Trace, Lexington, I'm pretty sure. It's got a cool graphic on the bottle. I don't know how old it is, I don't really care. It smells a little sweeter to me.
Yeah, you don't. With the last one, it burnt your nose. Like I said, it burnt your nose
really
hairs.
Smelled the alcohol in the last one. This one, I mean,
this I can smell some of the flavors.
Kind of vanilla.
You still get the barrel. Bit of the barrel in there. I don't feel like it's aged as long.
Well, I mean, you can look at the color of it too.
I don't feel like
I know
this
yours
is maybe...
gone, but that's going to be way darker because it's aged longer.
Right.
That's.
And then we have this in comparison. Oh, it's a little lighter.
This is probably 7-year-old whiskey, and this is 9-year-old whiskey. I'm just guessing. Probably 6-7-year-old.
I'm going to read a little bit about here. Buffalo led American westward. And that's what I like. I mean, if I can read a story on the back, like I can figure out, you know, a little bit about the distillery, just like the breweries. I want to research them so I know what they're making. You know, if I look on the back of a Jack Daniels bottle, you know, I find out, okay, the dude stubbed his toe and then he died. That's not really a good story. This is talking about, you know, they put a lot of thought into the Buffalo Traces, you know, how, you know, back in the day, you know, it was legendary explorers, pioneers, settles alike followed these trails known as the Buffalo Trail. Like, they put a lot of thought into that. So if they put a lot of thought into their fucking packaging, I know it's going to be a pretty solid drink.
And you know, there aren't any beverages in America more American than bourbon.
Right.
It's only made here. We make bourbon. And we make good craft beer. Just recently. Last 30 years.
America.
America! This is, there again, obviously I bought it. I like it. There's a reason I bought it. It's not, you know, I would share this with my friends a little more readily than I would share the Knob Creek. Knob Creek's, you know, for me. But this is good. This is a solid bourbon.
It is. It is. I mean, you still get the spiciness. I feel the same.
Yeah, kind of like an allspice almost. Not pepper, not...
Right. Like you said, like an allspice, but you don't have, as weird as this sounds, I mean, you feel the kick from the allspice, but you don't taste like an allspice flavoring, maybe. I mean, this hits the tongue.
It rings your bell.
It does. It does. Overall, pretty solid.
I think that'll make a fantastic julep too. I probably wouldn't make a julep with the Knob Creek just because of the price. But I really want to mix premium bourbon. Right. But I also don't want to mix trash. So I think that's a pretty good medium. And that's only $5 or $6 more than what you're going to pay for Jack Daniels.
Right. And you get something where you know where it's made.
Local, I mean, good 100%. Story behind it. I'm always big, support your local distillery, support your local brewery.
Right, and the lore ties into it, even if it's the lore of the town where it was done, where the lore of the name, like, that adds complexity to it without actually, like, not palate complexity necessarily,
but
it adds, it does, yeah. And it's something that you could talk about, like, with friends, like, this was blah, 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 just because you read the bottle, or maybe you Googled their name, yeah. Like, you know more about them, so you feel like, oh, I know about this beer.
I mean, I hate to buy into the hype, but...
Right, it is. I mean, again, we keep tying this back to craft beer because it's what we know. If I could tell the story of Sam and Dogfish, or if I can maybe tell the head brewer of Lagunitas, like, oh, I could say, like, we're at first, like, oh yeah, Sam, did this. He started on, a brew magic system, and they didn't even have those laws in, I think it was Delaware yet. Like, and I could tell the story. They're like, holy shit, this guy knows what he's talking about. What would I do with a Bud Light? This is a Bud Light. This tastes a lot like
piss.
The piss, If I were to drink piss, this is probably, and it sounds like we're hating on, InBev or Anheuser-Busch, and, it sounds like we're just getting, jumping on that bandwagon of everybody hates Bud Light, but there's a reason, I'm sure when Bud Light, when Coors, when they started out, like, they had a good story.
Yeah, of course. It's an American company. I mean, I'm sure they started off just like Yuengling, not that great of a beer. It's drinkable. I like the story behind Yuengling.
Right.
It's a good American company, and they've made a consistent quality product
for so long. Consistency.
Since 1829.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just a good
story. Isn't it funny, though? Like, if you look at... So we're in Ohio, and Yuengling got here about 1.5 years ago.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
And I've never seen something fade away so fast.
Yeah, I kind of lost... I mean,
I was like I was one that would drive to Pennsylvania to get Yuengling because I couldn't have it in Ohio, and that added
it was the same thing with Coors 20 years ago.
Right. I mean, you couldn't get it here, and then Yuengling came here, and everybody's like, whatever. But over Bud Light, I would get a Yuengling. If my only choice, Yuengling or a Black and Tan, I would get that.
Their Black and Tans actually.
It's not that bad.
Whole different show.
It is. Exactly. So, until it's getting a little dark here, I think we're going to rock out to some banjo and finish up this fire. Keep following us if you have suggestions or you want stuff for us to try or you have questions, whether it be homebrew or craft brew. Let us know. You can find us on Twitter at Buckeye Brew, our website, buckeyebrew.com, or email us, buckeyebrewcom@gmail.com. Until next time, cheers.